broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube at a later date. But we did want to cover the NFL Hall of Fame. They inducted 2 classes this weekend. The class of 2020, which we'll start with, and we'll just go through the names. Ron, I'll read off some numbers, and then we can kind of discuss anybody that we might feel we want to talk about. But first one is Steve Atwater. So he played 10 years with Denver and 1 year with the Jets. 1,188 tackles, 24 interceptions, 8-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl champ with the Denver Broncos.
Such great numbers. Like he's one of the few Jets that I've actually respected throughout the years. He's a great player. Like who wouldn't want this guy on your team? Like he was a difference maker.
No, his great years were with Denver. But again, one of those classy guys. If you think about hitting and back in the day when they could hit, he was one of those guys. So now I'm glad he got in. Next one was wide receiver Isaac Bruce. 14 years with the Rams and 2 years with the 49ers. 1,024 receptions, 15,208 yards, 91 touchdowns. 4-time Pro Bowler, 1-time Super Bowl champ. I always remember the Greatest Show on Turf when it was him, Folk, Holt, Kurt Warner, that team. But really good.
Such a great team.
Such a good team. And you think about it, that time the Tennessee Titans, like 1 yard short, they might not have gotten any Super Bowl titles. That still one of the best Super Bowls too with New England. Just to see both of them teams come down to the wire, it was one of the most dramatic Super Bowls at the time.
Yeah, Isaac Bruce was back in that time period. Isaac Bruce was one of my favorite players, and I always thought that St. Louis were a team that underachieved for the most part because of the talent that they had, but you can't deny Isaac Bruce's talent. Like he was a great player. Like probably put him at the number 2 or 3 best receiver at that time.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the era he came in with though too, right? Jerry Rice was still around.
Yeah,
he was never that number 1 guy just based on some of the talent that was around.
Rice made sure of that.
But he definitely put up some numbers. Guard Steve Hutchinson. 6 years with Minnesota, 5 years with Seattle, 1 year with Tennessee. 7-time Pro Bowler, 5-time All-Pro. So as I look at these stats, though, you want an interesting stat? He played in 169 games. Would you like to guess how many penalties he had?
Oh boy, I don't recall him being like a massive penalty guy. So I'm going to say 5.
19, but it's still pretty impressive.
Yeah.
In 169 games.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. So, again, if you think about just offensive linemen never get the credit they deserve. Probably one of the most important positions in football because it all starts up front on both sides of the ball. So nice to see a guard get in. We got is it Yaz?
Yes.
XV. Thank you. Welcome. Next is running back Edgerrin James. So 7 years with Indy, 3 years with Arizona, 1 year with Seattle. 12,246 yards, 80 touchdowns, 433 receptions for 3,364 yards and 11 touchdowns. 4-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro.
The 1-time All-Pro kind of surprises me. I would have thought that he would have been multiple All-Pros. It's just excellent. I mean,
no, his numbers. I mean, you think about it. Yeah, he's definitely in the top 10 all-time rushing. So, and I didn't really realize it. And when I started looking at the numbers, I said, he had a really good career. And it's just amazing to me that again, that Indy team never could get a Super Bowl with him on the team.
Yeah, that's the thing that sticks out, and they blew some opportunities. I
Yeah.
won't say
Yeah.
why. Peyton Manning.
we'll,
Um,
we'll talk about the 2021 class in a little bit. Yes. The dopey
no,
girl.
but
Thank
like,
you for joining.
look, he is one of those players that I really wish the Patriots would have had. You know, I mean, like think about it. Like the last really standout player that we had at the running back position was Curtis Martin, if I'm not mistaken. Like we've been like this running back shuffle, for so long. It's forgetful. But like Edgerrin James he was every day. He's in there. He gets his yards. He does his job. That's what he did every single game.
Yeah, no, definitely one of the. I love this speech. He said he came into the league with gold teeth and he left with a gold jacket. So that was kind of cool. So really happy for him. One of my favorites, and even though he was a Pittsburgh Steeler, Troy Polamalu, 12 years with Pittsburgh,
Yes.
783 tackles, 32 interceptions, 12 sacks, 8-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, and 2-time Super Bowl champ.
And he had the all-pro hair to go along
The
with
hair.
it.
I was going to say the commercial, the Head and Shoulders commercial. I'll never forget it. I
Yes.
can't. It's
Yes.
embedded in my brain forever.
I know. I don't know if that's a good thing, but it's there. But I mean, come on, like this guy. I mean, he was so good.
Yeah, if you think about what the Steelers are all about, it's always about defense. Tough nose, hard. Hard playing. That blue collar. Pittsburgh style, and he was one of those guys. He was all over the field. To my recollection, I mean, I could remember he was one of those guys. They put him everywhere. So he was a blitzing safety. He came in so many different ways that they started to change that position based on what he did.
Yeah, he was everywhere. Like I remember when watching those games. It doesn't matter who he played. He was always mentioned in almost every play. Like play after play, he's there around the ball. He's there, and that's saying something for somebody that was not a linebacker.
Exactly. Like I said, he changed that position. So again, in the hair. I mean, I think he was the first player that I can remember with. They covered I think it became an issue where he was covering the name on the jersey, where the league tried to. To actually suspend him or change the rule, and eventually they lost that. But so again, another great player. Let's talk about a couple coaches that got in. Jimmy Johnson. So Jimmy Johnson got in 5 years with Dallas, 4 years with Miami. He had a .556 winning percentage, 7-1 all time with the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs, 2 Super Bowl championships.
I mean, he's a colorful personality too. So it's hard. It's hard not even to like the guy because he's that colorful. And when you put that along with the skill of getting guys to play and play well at the positions that they do, I mean, it's hard not to think that he wouldn't have been a great coach no matter where he was.
Yeah, and if you think about he ultimately built the Cowboys off of that trade with Herschel Walker and getting all those first round picks and then, turning them into, great picks, so if you think about what he did and how he built those Cowboys, they started off with 3 young players, Aikman, Irving, and Smith, and built that defense. And, he created that. I always remembered when they won the Super Bowl and them messing up his hair. Because it was that was one of his staples, was having that hair and always that hair never moving. And they wanted to make sure. But also that iconic when they won that championship game and him saying, "How about them Cowboys?" Like that's always going to stick out. You hear it all the time. You still hear it today. It was just a shame how it ended with the Cowboys, but I think they've got over it. He talked about it in his speech that past is past, and he went into the Dallas Cowboys Ring of Honor as well. So that I think that relationship finally merged itself back together.
So now, does this mean he cannot be a coach now in the league, being in the Hall of Fame?
No, I believe he could still come back if he really wanted to. I think coaching's different. I was debating that, and I'll have to research that on players because
Because
I mean, there's
frankly,
some-
I think he would. I think he would fit this era. To be honest with you, I think he'd do well as a coach again.
I
You
just
know?
can't stand. I mean, I believe he's in his mid-70s at this point. I
Yeah.
can't see him want to get back into coaching.
No,
I mean,
but I mean, just saying.
and he does
you
a
know.
great job with CBS. Is it CBS? No, he's on Fox with Fox.
Yeah.
So the coach that is on CBS, Bill Cowher, 15 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers, 623 winning percentage. He was his first year coaching. He was coach of the year, so 92. So if you think about how impressive that is, he won the Super Bowl once, and with that team, that was the first team to actually be a 6 seed, win all 3 games on the road, and then win the Super Bowl. So, so much to say about Bill. I mean, you think about just how competitive he was and how fiery he was. I loved watching him on the field, run up to the players, grab them, start hitting their shoulder pads, and he was just a fiery guy. And
He
I
didn't
think
trip people going down the line, down the sidelines.
he didn't want to lose.
No.
And again, if you think about it, he just came into an era where it was just tough. The 90s, San Fran, Dallas, and then 2000s with the Patriots. So he never really got enough credit for, I mean, winning 62% of your games is pretty impressive.
It is. It is, but, I mean, he didn't have the playoff success that he should have. But I don't think it's totally his fault. I mean, look, Pittsburgh has been notorious for just getting rid of players, when they're ready to get a contract. And at some point to keep somebody. And they really didn't keep people for him. And they still do it. They still do it to Tomlin. Although I don't think Tomlin is as good a coach as Cowher was. So,
I mean, if you think about a franchise, though, three head coaches the entire time. So Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and now Mike Tomlin. Like, how impressive is that?
That is precedented in any sport.
Yeah, you never hear that.
Like the Yankees had Billy Martin for 50 years, even though he was fired 100 times. But
yeah, but it was like 6 stints or something. It wasn't.
Yeah,
it wasn't consecutive.
No,
for the fact that they've really found gold each time.
Exactly, or at least silver now. Not a fan of Mike Tomlin.
Not a fan. I mean, he did win. He did win a couple Super Bowls. All right.
Yeah.
Well, he got to a couple. He won one. A couple names that did get in as well. And without enough said about this gentleman, but Steve Sable. If you think about NFL films and just how that came about and his voice on all of these. So it was really nice to see that he got in. I think his son passed away as well recently. So, if you look at what they did for the NFL films and creating that whole, generation of the video part of the NFL, how impressive that was. Demandra RR, thank you for joining.
Amanda. Yeah, look, we had this conversation before the show. To me, he's one of those that are just above the borderline. There's so many guys that got in these other, like the old timers going in. Like some of them, I don't feel deserve to be in there, and it's just kind of watering down the process, I think. And look, and I know a lot of players in the past were overlooked for whatever reason, and a lot of those players were black players, and I get it, and I understand making things right and putting those players in. But let's not just put people that nobody knows and nobody's heard of, in just in. Say, I should be in, but it's borderline. It's borderline for me.
I mean, you think he wasn't a player? First of all, he was, just NFL films. He created NFL films.
Yeah, I mean, it's borderline.
Yeah. I don't know. You think about it, man. Watching those old tapes, and you could hear the voice. You know the
I
the
know, I
frozen
get it,
tundra, and that he created all that. But okay,
but
how
it's
about this?
borderline.
How about this guy,
I don't know.
Paul Tagliabue? Also was
Oh,
inducted. I think he was the first commissioner that I actually really realized. Like he was the first time I remember on the football, Paul Tagliabue. And I think if you think about what he
so
did
why
for the
is he in
NFL,
though? Why is he in?
why is he in? Because it was. I mean, think about what he built. The NFL's become the
Commission.
biggest sport in America, and he started that.
Yeah, but
He took that next leap.
did he do it? I mean,
He
I
took
don't.
that next leap. As much as you don't like commissioners, you know what I mean. And we could go
No,
through
I don't.
lists of who we like and don't like. Right? What they do, like Pete Rozelle, then went to Paul Tagliabue. Right? They built this NFL to what it is today.
Yeah, but see, like Pete Rozelle is really more responsible for what the NFL is. Like the guys that have been in since him are just doing what they're told by the owners. I mean, that's basically what they're doing. So it's not really them that are doing this. The owners have more to say about how he is now than than anything. The the owners are dictating everything. And that's just
Again, I mean, maybe
I
today's
don't.
NFL, but if you look at back when he was, I don't think it was the same then. I don't think it was as
Yeah, I don't know. Again,
bad as
another
it is now.
borderline player for me. I actually think that he falls short of where I would expect to be in.
You were
Like,
rough. You're
it
tough.
hasn't done anything. Yeah. It's
You're
okay.
tough.
Somebody's
You're
got to
tough.
say it. Somebody's got
All
to
right,
say it.
we're on Rhode Island
Shouldn't be.
Broadcasting. We're live on Twitch. Normally, we broadcast every Friday at 6 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook. You can follow us on social media at Sports Unfolded on Facebook and Twitter, at Broadcasting RI on Twitter, Sports_Unfolded on Instagram, and on podcasts on Anchor, Google, and Spotify. So many different ways to watch, follow. We'll be doing more live Twitch streams and then broadcasting them at a later date on the Facebook and YouTube channels. So check that out. We're going to move on to 2021. And first
Here we
first
go.
guy on the
Here we
first
go.
guy on the board is Alan Faneca. So he played 10 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers, 2 years with the New York Jets, 1 year with Arizona. He was a 9-time Pro Bowler, 6-time All-Pro, won the Super Bowl once, and he started in 201 of his 206 games. So consistency.
Yeah, that's consistent and impressive. Like he is what you want on your team. Like to start a team, this is the kind of guy that you want on your team. This is how you start and how you protect the team.
Yeah, and if you basically could chalk him in every week, you knew he's going to be on no matter what.
And at a high level, very high level, I should say.
Yes. Agreed. NOF Sumu, thank you for joining. Next one up is wide receiver Calvin Johnson. Played 9 years with Detroit, 731 receptions, 11,619 yards, 83 touchdowns, 6-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro.
And long enough, in my opinion, to fill fans with that craving for a great receiver. I feel like he shorted himself because I think he would have mentioned with players like Randy Moss, that player.
Yeah.
I wish he would have played longer, but he definitely deserves to be in.
Yeah. So I looked at it. I mean, again, the nickname Megatron, that was kind of cool, that crossover with the movies and what he could do and how dynamic he was. But I also I said the same thing. If you think about Barry Sanders and him ending his career early, what did Detroit do to these guys? Because these were two top-notch, at best ever at their positions, and we we got cheated as fans because Detroit just couldn't figure out how to keep these guys happy and want them to continue. He would have broke records. I think, he was that dynamic. They couldn't stop him. For his size and his speed at that time, nobody saw that. He was a tight end with wide receiver speed. It was just unheard of at the time.
I would have probably put him the third receiver of all time. Behind
that
Rice
might be pick
and
roll
Moss.
sometime. Pick and roll sometime.
That would be a good one.
That
would be a good one.
Next is safety John Lynch. He played 11 years with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 4 years with Denver, 1,059 tackles, 26 interceptions, 9-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champ.
This guy might be my favorite player out of the group. Hard-nosed, tough as nails. He set the standard when it came to defense, and he was one of those guys that changed defense. Maybe with Polamalu, Rodney Harrison, those kind of guys. They changed defense. They put something into the defensive position that instilled that aggression, that toughness that you want, that the league keeps trying to take away by making it more offensive. And these guys are basically keeping things honest.
Yeah, so if you think about that 2002 team that won the Super Bowl and that defense and how good they were, Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, John Lynch. And, John Lynch, those guys were just, so good. And he was so smart as a player. But if you think about even now as a GM and what he's doing, he's basically helped the San Francisco 49ers get back on the map as a legitimate, team. So it's amazing to see that
if he can build, sorry to cut you off, Eric, but
no, that's
if
fine.
he can build San Francisco to win a couple of Super Bowls, he could get in, an office as well. Like, how great would that be to get a guy that can do both? That hasn't happened very often.
No,
if ever.
John Elway looked like he was heading that direction, and then Peyton Manning retired.
Yeah.
So he looked like a genius when he did that.
Now he's still crying about. He's like, if I can only draft myself.
Yeah. So, John Lynch may be that guy. Great point. So next up, quarterback Peyton Manning, 13 years with the Indianapolis Colts, 4 years with Denver, 186 and 79 in his career, 71,940 yards passing, 539 touchdowns, 14-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All-Pro, 2-time Super Bowl champ, 5-time MVP.
And lots of tissues used.
Wow.
You're
there it is. I know it's coming.
He has squandered a career, basically. Yes, I understand a couple of Super Bowls, but to me, he squandered his talent. He squandered it. Like Eli has the same amount as him and isn't half the quarterback. So you tell me what the problem is. Yes, he deserves to be in. I get it. All those numbers, wow. But, I mean, come on. How did he not win 5? How did he not win 5? I'll tell you why. Because there's a guy that wore number 12 that stopped him many, many times. It's like you squandered it. You squandered it.
So we look at it in a couple. So look at it this way, though. If you look at the 90s with the Bulls, right? How many great teams were in the NBA, but you couldn't get by Michael Jordan? Unfortunately, Peyton Manning had Tom Brady. So, again, I could see it. I mean, he's ranked number 3 passing and number 3 touchdowns all time. And the only 2 guys that are ahead of him were Drew Brees and Tom Brady. And Tom Brady's going to break every record humanly possible just based on the amount of time he's been in the league. So,
and I would rather have those 2 quarterbacks than Peyton Manning.
All right. So let me ask you this question, though. All right. And this is a serious question. If Bill Belichick was the coach of the Indianapolis Colts, does Peyton Manning get those 6 rings and not Tom
Yes.
Brady? So we can blame coaching. You know, it might not all be Peyton Manning because, again, you got to remember who he was going against is one of the greatest coaches of all time in Bill Belichick. So,
yeah,
you know, they always came up with a scheme that confused or made it very difficult for Peyton Manning to do the things he needed to do. They knew how to get him out of his comfort zone. So, you know, look, at the end of the day, as a Patriot fan.
That's why I'm saying he squandered it. Like, the team
I don't think he squandered it. I think
the championships.
I think, there was players around him and coaches around him that just couldn't get the job done to help him. And I think he had better teams sometimes in Indianapolis? Absolutely. But I also feel like the coaching staff, and it just let him down more times than not. And again, you can only do so much as a player. You need coaches to make good decisions and make the right decisions at the right time. And that didn't happen in his career. So I take nothing away from him. I still think and I always said this.
No.
Go ahead.
Look, I think, you know, I hop on Peyton Manning of, you know, a lot of the situations he's been in. You know, there's a lot of times where he had chances to win those games and didn't get it done. And, you know, like you can say coaching and you can say this and that and the talent and stuff, but when it comes down to it, he just didn't get it done as much as it have. And that's all I'm hopping on him for. Like, I deny he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Like, like I said, he's one of the top 3-4 quarterback time. You know, it's just, you know, that look, you gotta make those chances that you get happen. And he's had those chances. And he's won a couple, but should have been like at least.
And I've always said this, and this isn't a shot at him, but he is probably the best regular season quarterback of all time. Of all time. He's better than Tom when it comes to regular season.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, in the regular season. Yeah.
You know, it's the playoff piece. If you judged him on his playoffs, he's probably not a Hall of Fame quarterback just based on the amount of wins. No. But his regular season, he put so many fits on people. But
he's Marino.
Dan Marino, exactly. Got to 1 Super Bowl, right? But think about the numbers he put up, right?
Yeah, you know, it's like it's the thing. I mean, we're talking about players that just can't. Look, sorry, but like I'll take Tom, I'll take Terry Bradshaw, I'll take Joe Montana. You know, these guys get it done when they have those opportunities. I mean, look, it's just simple. Like, yes, I get you. You want to start Peyton Manning in the regular season. When the playoffs comes around, you bench him, you put somebody else in. That's basically what you do. And for all the talent he's had, like, come on, 2. It's not enough for him.
No, I agree.
And I thought it was more a content thing. It's like he overthinks everything. Sometimes you just got to go in there and just do it.
No, and again, one of the smartest players ever. But to your point, always came up short.
Waiting for years to get on this guy. I had to jump on. So
no,
but I'm good now.
That's fine. Next player is wide receiver Drew Person. Played 11 years with the Dallas Cowboys, so 489 receptions, 7,822 yards, 48 touchdowns. 3-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champ. And I know we were debating a little bit, but if you think about the era of when he played, passing wasn't as prevalent as it is now. So, I mean, you could say his numbers are pretty impressive for that time. And those Dallas Cowboys teams were, some of the greatest teams of all time. So,
who was throwing the ball then?
Roger Staubach.
Was that Roger?
Yeah, it was Roger.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it was just
long
starting
overdue.
To develop into a passing game.
Yeah. Long overdue. Again, I know he said he'd been waiting for quite some time, so he was excited. He said he's the original 88, so Michael Irvin obviously wore 88 as well, but he was the original 88, so that was kind of cool to see him get in as well.
Would have been interesting to see what his numbers would be if he was maybe in Michael Irvin's era. That would have been interesting to see.
Let's last player that we're going to talk about is safety cornerback Charles Woodson. Played 11 years with Oakland and 7 years with the Green Bay Packers, and there was a stint where he went from Oakland to Green Bay back to Oakland. But 1,220 tackles, 65 interceptions, 11 touchdowns as a DB, which is pretty impressive. 9-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champ.
Yeah, Charles Woodson. Raiders just come to mind for me. He screams Raiders, and top 5 all time for me for a defensive back. I don't know where in that top 5. Obviously, you're going to put Deion Sanders in there. I like Ty Law. There's a couple other guys, Polamalu, So I know there's another one I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but those guys would be in like the top 5 for me. And he deserves this probably more than anybody in this class, to be honest with you. Even though I like Lynch better, but he deserves it more than anybody in this class.
I like the fact that he was probably one of those first guys that went from corner to safety, knew he lost a little bit of speed, but still could contribute on that back end and made a difference there as well. He was just as good as a safety as he was as a corner. And I think about, his Michigan days and just how good he was then. I mean, this guy has, the one knock that I always had, though, was the tuck rule. And he was the guy that hit the ball, Tom Brady, and he complained about it for years afterwards. And you know what? You were too good of a player to one play ultimately cost you something, So that was the only disappointing part for me in his whole career. And again, it's a small part, but if you look at the fact that he was so good that you would, I remember for years afterwards him talking about that play and how they got, cheated out of a win. And it's like, come on, man, look at all the numbers you've put up and all the great things you've done. So, still one of my,
I've always thought he should have probably, I've always thought since then he should have joined up with the San Diego Chargers because they had a lot of them too. So, I thought that would have been a great, might as well join them. All the crybabies, put them all on one team, and that generally was San Diego back then. How many times did they lose to the Patriots? It's like enough's enough. Like, stop crying about it and get the job done. But again, he is in my top 5 all time for defensive backs. I mean, it's hard to deny that. I mean, he's an incredible player.
No, agreed. And again, I like him. I think I also remember he used to wear the headband around his neck.
Yeah,
that fashion statement. But you'd always knew where he was on the field.
So he's knocking down a pass or taking it back for 6.
Think about 11 touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean,
it is.
You know what I mean? 18 years, 11 touchdowns, but as a defensive back.
Yeah. How many players had more than that, really?
I would probably think Deion. I would go Deion.
Yeah. Who would be my number 1, to be honest with you? But
I love Deion Sanders. I mean, I think he was one of the best DBs of all time, and he'll get, you know what I mean?
Period. Like he did make it in baseball too.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive that he could do so many. As I look now, let's see. You know what? Believe it or not, he only had 9 touchdowns as a DB. Yeah. Wow. That's so.
But think about how many passes went to his side.
Oh, yeah, none. Yeah, exactly. You shut off an entire
field.
Why
would you throw over there?
Entire field. No, so I loved prime time. Last person we're going to talk about, Coach Tom Flores got in 9 years with the Raiders, 3 years with Seattle. He had a 527 winning percentage. He was 8-3 all time with the Raiders in the playoffs. He won 2 Super Bowls. So again, one of those coaches that might not be as well known, but again, did some good things in the 80s with some of those teams. And,
Plunkett back then, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yep. So, again, long overdue. I think some of these guys, again, you look at, they may not have wowed you with their numbers, but, 2 Super Bowl wins is not easy to do. How many coaches can we say actually have that?
And I gotta add that, look, Jim Plunkett, good quarterback. He was a good quarterback. He wasn't a great quarterback, and he won with him, and that has a lot to do with their coaching. Basically, was reason why they won those championships.
Yeah, we just talked about it with Peyton Manning. Right?
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, we just talked about it with Peyton Manning. Better coaching probably results in more championships. So, again, that coach and what their impact is. So, if you think about the 3 coaches that got in the last 2 days, right? Jimmy Johnson and what he could do to build that Dallas Cowboys team. Bill Cowher and what he did for Pittsburgh and just the toughness in winning one of those championships. And then Tom Flores, again, not easy to do, but got 2 Super Bowl wins. It's a lot to do with how you get those players to perform in the biggest stage, and he did that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So once again, if you're joining us, we're live on Twitch. Normally we're on every Friday night at 6 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook. Follow us on social media at Sports Unfolded on Facebook and Twitter, at Broadcasting RI on Twitter, Sports_Unfolded on Instagram, and podcasts on Anchor, Google, and Spotify. Ron, this has been a fun discussion on our top the Hall of Fame classes. So obviously 2 getting in. That's rare. I got canceled last year due to COVID. So they had 2 in this year. So it was fun to discuss and talk about. Glad for all the fans that have joined us tonight, this morning. I'm so used to doing this at night. I got to wake up here. But thank you for joining. We appreciate all the Twitch. Yeah, for the Twitch followers out there that followed, we appreciate you. Tune in Friday night at 6 p.m. So we've got a lot to cover again as well. So much that happens in the sports world. We try to stay as current as possible, cover most of the local teams. I'm excited. Speaking of football, the New England Patriots this Thursday night playing the Washington football team. So first time we get to see Mac Jones. I know you're looking forward to that. The unseating of Cam Newton.
So that way I can make a good judgment on how the season is going to go.
Yeah.
And Thursday is going to tell us.
Your campaign for the unseating of Cam Newton as the starting quarterback begins Thursday. You know that. You understand this, correct?
Yes.
I feel like there's going to be flags in the background and you know what I mean? Party favors and everything else.
Look, just when you see someone walk up to Cam Newton's water jug, not me. It's not
you. It may look like you, but there's a lot of guys that look like you.
It may look like me, but it's not me.
All right. I love it. I love it. Ron, thanks again to everybody that joined. Thank you. Appreciate you joining us for our Sports Unfolded Sports Flash. Have a great morning. Have a great day. And see you on Friday.
Take care.
Peace.